Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GXPC Week 4 match between Full Send Gaming. That's wrong. And it is correct. And Red Dusk Esports. This is a great introduction so far. My name is Hickory. Sitting next to me is my newfound friend, Rebel Fox. How you doing today, Rebel?
I'm doing pretty great. For any of you out there that are actually wondering, we're not sitting directly next to each other. We actually share a computer, though, so we're on top of one another.
I'm just stroking his hair silently across the room. It's close enough to next. It might not literally be next, but I can reach out and touch him. I want to just really quickly state a few quick housekeeping things. First of all, we're going to be doing the pro draft system, which means that we're not going to be in the game itself, so it's going to be a little bit wonky. We're just getting things going. But then more importantly, since we're getting into our fourth week, it's the second day, first day of the fourth week, we have, I have a little bit of an echo, but outside of the echo, some information here. I believe it is Red Dusk Esports that is 4-2, and Full Send is 3-3 this week. So what that means is that they're pretty solidly in the middle of the pack, but as we start getting towards the kind of middle of the season and start looking our way towards the end of the season, towards playoffs, it's going to be pretty important when you start knocking on these doors of the teams that are in the kind of same position as you. How do you feel about the first few weeks these teams have been putting on?
What's shocking to me is just how close so many of these middle teams are. I mean, you're talking second place through all the way to, what is it, like 8th place, at least from what we've seen in the rankings, are currently between like 1 and 2 games apart. So that middle of the pack, if you can start winning games against your competitors, you can really start taking an edge over them.
Yeah, and then the closer that we get to the end of the weeks, that one game can really be the difference between either making it in or out of playoffs, but also just seeding in playoffs, which becomes really, really important. But as we are jumping into the draft, there are a few quick bans coming out. First of all, we have Graves from Full Send and Rise from Red Dusk. Really, really strong jungler and a pretty split push oriented mid laner. Any particular bans you want to see in these teams throwing out?
Yeah, hold on. Wait, where did I had a sheet and now it's gone. We do see the Kog'Maw go away, which is, I mean, I think RDE's ADC plays quite a bit of Kog'Maw still. It's not particularly the strongest, but you got to take away comfort, and Talia gets taken away as well.
Is Talia a jungler or mid laner for the RDE ban?
Pretty sure that's a jungle ban on their side against FSG.
And Gangplank is going to be the final ban, as well as Zed. And a really, really quick pick up of that Nivea. That was no hesitation at all. Feels pretty comfortable. Yeah. As well as a Kayn as the jungle pick. And you mentioned that Talia is probably a counter jungle for the FSG side. What do you like into Kayn?
What do I like into Kayn? I mean, he's just so aggressive early. You need somebody that is capable of dueling. He can get outscaled as well. His early game is just so strong that anybody that can outscale him and keep him at bay early is just going to be able to do well into him. I don't know, if it were me, somebody like a Lee Sin could definitely outpace him. And somebody like a Nocturne could just be more effective in the late game with his utility outside of just the damage.
Okay, so you're mainly thinking that either someone should just beat him in the early game because it's so strong early game, or maybe someone should kind of wait and scale and then just kind of let him fall off. As we do have the Ornn picked up.
Yeah. I'm kind of liking the draft already from SSG. I know that Chris Meister plays a ton of Anivia, so seeing that come out is just going to be that's literally his most played champion. So
Anivia to me kind of feels like a late game kind of draft. Does Ornn and Misfortune kind of lead into that as well?
It's looking a lot more. I don't know exactly where they're aiming for. Ornn can definitely scale into the late game, and Misfortune pumps out damage basically through the entire game. I see Misfortune as more of an early game champion, but maybe that hints towards bot side play. But I do notice, I mean, you have a Nivea ult, you got Ornn ult, and you got Misfortune ult. They're looking for a team fight comp.
So we do have a Kai'Sa picked up. Tom Kench and Rengar and bad. Kai'Sa's my favorite champion. I really, really love playing her. I love seeing her. But without seeing the supports, it's going to be interesting to see the way that the bot lane is matching up. That Lee Sin you're actually mentioning does get banned by RDE, so that's actually one of the things you were looking for against Kayn. I think you mentioned that Nocturne was probably your other second choice against the Kayn, correct?
Yeah, Nocturne is just a strong champion in general right now. So it's tough to bit against him. I know Left Hook Harry also really likes to play these aggressive junglers, and I don't know how aggressive you can be on Nocturne early. Something that could come out is maybe the Pantheon. That might be what the pickup here is, because it's one of his favorite things.
And just a quick update, that blue bar right there is actually a Morgana ban. It's just a double support ban on the side of FSG, as Nami is picked up in the counter. Thresh is actually going to be the opposite support for FSG. So we do know our bot lanes: Kai'Sa, Nami versus Misfortune, Thresh. What are you feeling a little bit more? What do you like a little bit more here?
The big thing that I do know is that Phoenix really loves this Thresh. I mean, you're talking hundreds of games on Thresh versus other supports he puts, 20, 30 games on. But this Thresh is his real comfort. Thresh Misfortune can definitely get aggressive early. Oh, we do see the Nocturne come out, by the way. But yeah, I mean, this kind of hints towards what I would assume to be early aggression from the bot lane of FSG.
Awesome, right on. Is that a bit of a missed ban then? With you mentioned how many games and how comfortable he's feeling on Thresh. Is that something that should have been looked into in the banning set of RDE? Maybe dropping, the Rengar, they double ban jungle, potentially triple ban jungle with Talia. Yeah. They double ban mid if Talia is mid. Should Thresh have been a ban perhaps?
Yeah, they took out at least a couple of comfort champions in the GP and in the Rengar. It looks like they were definitely trying to protect their jungler. They went for the very early Kayn, so that was definitely hinted at. The Maokai is into, who is it, Ornn?
Yes.
Is a very volatile. I assume at least.
One would probably hope that Maokai is going top, since Maokai jungle isn't really too much of a thing right now.
Yeah.
So we are going to run through the actual real draft now really, really quickly. But while we're doing that, maybe you can run me through a couple of win conditions of both teams. Let's start with FSG, with the Anivia Ornn, Misfortune, Thresh, and Nocturne. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, so first is, I'll just run down the map really quick. Ornn is a tank that can at least compete with the Maokai in the early game. And in the late game, they scale to pretty similar kind of tanky, engaged champions. So the Ornn shouldn't have much of an issue. The Anivia is literally meant to just sit in lane and farm as best she can against this Vel'Koz. So watch for the Nocturne. I'm sorry?
No, I was just adding numbers. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just watch for Nocturne hitting 6 to go bot lane, because I think that's what they really want. They want to snowball this bot lane with the Thresh, with the Misfortune, and then just turn this into a team fight comp with the Anivia ult and with the Misfortune ult. So on the other side, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I had a question. You were mentioning snowballing this bot lane with the Misfortune. Is Kai'Sa not a bit more of a late game oriented ADC? Is it possible to really push yourself towards the late game when you're up against a hyper carry that is like Kai'Sa?
I think the what's most important about this bot lane is just that if you do get ahead on Misfortune, dueling the Kai'Sa isn't insanely difficult, because you build that, usually I would say, lethality. It does a lot of just instant burst damage. Getting to that I'm talking very, very late game, Kai'Sa will absolutely decimate Misfortune. She puts out way too much damage against everybody, not just Misfortune, but against tanks and stuff. But what she's looking for is Misfortune wants an item advantage. She wants, 2-item advantage over this Kai'Sa, so that when she does ultimate, when she does start hitting Qs, auto-attacking, she pumps out so much more damage than the Kai'Sa will.
Okay. Awesome, that makes sense. I just wanted to clarify as well, because I was just, I'm thinking about an early game ADC versus late game ADC. I just want to just mention really quickly to anyone who has been joining us, we did run things on a pro draft. So we're just running through the actual in-game draft right now. So we do know what the teams are going to be locked in. They just got to actually basically create the game now. So if you're wondering why we're not really talking about the picks, it's because they have already been picked. But if you could give me just a few more thoughts about, I believe it was the Red Dusk side. We did talk about their bot lane, but what about the rest of the team?
So we see the Vel'Koz, who should do fine in lane against the Anivia. He's got longer range, he can CS very efficiently, and he has kill threat at 6. We see Kai'Sa Nami, that's obviously intended against the Misfortune Thresh to just try to survive until the late game so that she can out-damage the Misfortune. And Maokai he's a late game tank. His early game isn't spectacular, but it's not the worst. But you're really looking for that late game engage. The one thing I'm really curious about is this Kayn. To me, looking at both team comps, it looks like he wants to go red Kayn because they want somebody to be that frontline bruiser with the Maokai so that this Kai'Sa can dive in, so that this Nami can ult and this Vel'Koz can ult and really just put pressure on a specific point in a fight. But doing that's going to be difficult. Anivia is ranged, Thrust is ranged, Misfortune is ranged, which tells me you got to watch out for ganks top lane if you're going to be Ornn, because Kayn wants to come up and get red Kayn.
Can I ask you, do you play Nami at all?
I play quite a bit of Nami, yes.
Okay. How do you feel playing Nami against a Nocturne?
So the big issue with playing Nami into Nocturne is that when he ults, you don't know where you're supposed to Q. Now, you do know if you throw your ultimate right at where your ADC was standing, you could potentially hit him with the wave, but he does have that spell shield coming in, so if he is ready for it, he can insta spell shield and he'll still hit your ADC and they have to flash out. It gets even worse later in the game, because even if you're able to hit your Q, if he builds something like I can't remember what the item is, that it's lethality that gives you the magic shield, the shield that protects against the spell.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Edge of Night.
Edge of Night. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. If he builds an Edge of Night and he has 2, I mean, that could easily be a rush for him, and he could just literally never have any CC against him against this Kai'Sa. That is the one issue that I'm running into. I know from experience, people with multiple CC moves or moves that break his spell shield are much better at countering against the Kai'Sa.
Okay.
Nami's not.
So I believe that we can see when it was picked. Nocturne was picked after the Nami. You would actually mention Nocturne as just a counter to Kayn in general. Did the Nami pick influence it at all, or was it just, hey, they pick Kayn and they ban Lee Sin, I'm doing Nocturne no matter what? It is kind of weird to have seen Nocturne be the last pick to begin with. I mean, he's a very, very high priority jungler. He gets banned a lot. He gets first picked a lot, but he was the last pick on FSG and the second to last pick of the entire game.
Like I said, the one thing that Nocturne doesn't have is that he's not super great in team fights. It's difficult to build him tanky because he just doesn't get much use. And if you build him full AD, in the late game, he can just get popped because he is squishy. So this team fight comp that they've kind of designed with the Anivia or Misfortune gets a little bit more difficult when your jungler has to dive in so far. That may have been the reason why, but Nocturne does pretty well into Kayn. He clears about the same speed with that passive, with that Q, and his level 6 ganks are a lot easier to pull off than Kayn. I would also argue that ultimate in later fights and in Baron and Dragon situations is just so valuable, and Kayn doesn't have anything like that. So I would say they saw the Nami, so they saw a bot lane that could be exposed, and maybe that helped with the Nocturne pick. Maybe they were just planning it all along and they didn't want to reveal it early in the draft.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, Nocturne, he goes in so deep that you can be pretty prepared for it if you draft around it. But when he's later in the draft, I will say I've seen a lot of actually really, really impressive Baron and Drake steals off of the paranoia because you can't really see what you're looking at. Sometimes you even lose vision of the Drake or the Baron, and then all of a sudden he's just flying in and smites at the perfect timing. And a dead Nocturne for a free Baron. That's a win in my book. That being said, though, we are going to kick it to a break as the game loads up. Thank you all for joining us so far. We'll see you in a few minutes after this word from our beautiful sponsors.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate GXPC in Decorah, Iowa. GXPC is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4. And all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The GameXP motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa and check out Games XP and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Welcome back. How's it going? Wouldn't be Games XP without technical delays and a pause, would it not? Again, welcome everybody back to the broadcast. My name's Hickory. I'm with my buddy Rebel Fox. Just want to run through the games really quick. On this red side, we have Red Dusk Esports with John MJ in the top lane. I Smell a Pig Jungle, KTA mid, probably playing mid. Finesti, the ADC, and Yeye123 as support. On the blue, in the blue trunks, is FSG with Memento in the top lane, Left Hook, Larry Jungle, Chris Meister in the mid lane, Snippet in ADC, and Phoenix DC rolling things out with the support. Rebel, I think I got a little feedback coming from you. Perhaps.
Do you?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let me try and fix that really quick.
Outside of the possible feedback that I'm having, we are in a pause. That sounds a lot better. Thank you very much, sir. We are running through a few possible win conditions between these two teams. Before we get into win conditions, however, we need to get through first blood, first tower, those kind of things. How do you feel about the first few minutes of these games? Who is getting first blood, on whom, at what time?
Who's getting first blood on whom and at what time? Okay. So, first things first, I do want to note that this Ornn has Grasp, and instead of going for Grasp, the Maokai has After. That actually bodes pretty poorly for the laning phase of Maokai. That's a fair amount of sustain he's going to be missing, so this Ornn's just going to bully him all apart. As for First Blood, I don't want to call it on Chris Meister. He's good on Anivia, and it's difficult to kill an Anivia first level. I'm going to say first kill is going to be onto Funster. I'm going to say like 10 minutes in, Left Hook Larry's going to hit 6 and he's going to come down.
So you're thinking the first Nocturne ult is going to jump onto Funsty?
I think so, yeah.
It will be a kill. Fineste. He's going to finesse right in there. Okay, so the Nocturne first ult. That is a bit of a tall order because I have seen some Nocturne ults go incredibly well and some Nocturne ults go horrifically long. So I'm going to hold you to it. You said, what was the time? Let's call it 9:35,
yeah, 9:30, 9:35, somewhere in there.
9:35. All right. As the
now,
first
also,
blood.
I'm going to hold this as perhaps a caveat. If one of these teams invades, I'm going to call Clown Fiesta at about 35 seconds.
No. You already put your ballot in.
Okay.
For Left Hook Larry on the Finesta at 9:35. Now I really want them to level 1 invade. I'm not necessarily feeling the level 1, but we might have the reason for the technical difficulty if my production could give it in my magical ear here. Unfortunately, a mid laner did not connect. Does that mean we are going to be remaking the game, perhaps? Okay, all we have to do is wait for, was it KTA that didn't connect? And we will be good to go. Would like to have our teams playing a 5v5 as opposed to a 4v5. A little bit of unfair odds. Unfortunately, we are getting pretty close to our 15-minute time slot, which will force a rule that I probably should remember by now, but have not been able to remember. But we still have a few more minutes until then. Hopefully, you can get reconnected. Would like to see the fullest potential of both teams. Would like to, in my particular opinion, I'd like to go to a best of 3. That's my most enjoyable situation when I get to see the most competitive games. And as we mentioned, these are pretty closely tied teams. They're only 1 game off of each other, and I believe actually only 2 or 3 games off the top of the league to begin with. So they're still very hotly contesting the top 1, 2, 3 positions of the league. These are by no means, this isn't a week 8 kind of 2 and 16 H2K kind of thing over the EU LCS. This is still very much for the front running of the entire league. I think I'm going to ask you this, but just to kind of refresh our memory, how have you been feeling about these teams previous weeks in general, and who do you think has the steam left in the tank to make their way towards playoffs. As we're getting into the kind of mid and later parts of the league, which one of these teams is going to be starting to pull ahead of the other one, or they're just going to stay kind of the same in this kind of deadlocked position?
I really think FSG has some good ways to win the game. Like I said, Chris Meister is really, really solid out the mid lane. They can really play through mid and expect him to do really well. They can also go to Snippet. They can pick Gangplank for Memento, and they can give him some allowance there and give him a little bit more of a leash. Left hook Larry likes to play these aggressive junglers. You can let him, they just have so many ways to win games, and I think that has shown up, at least to some extent, in their 4 wins.
Awesome. And actually, you just mentioned the gameplay. As this is a more of a plat and diamond kind of league, we see a lot of carries from kind of all positions, as opposed to when you get into higher leagues, when you have it a bit more fortunately or unfortunately kind of regimented based on your position. This game in particular is quite quote unquote standard, with the tanks in the top lane, the mages in the mid lane, kind of generic ADCs with a mage support and a kind of setup tank support. The junglers are kind of interesting in this matchup, and when I'm talking about the quote unquote standard once again, but we haven't seen both, or at least not done quite a lot. So it is kind of interesting to not be seeing a Gangplank top or a Jarvan or a Gnar or something that has as much potential to carry as Chris does in the mid lane. Not that Memento is going to be sitting there getting whacked on, but at the end of the day, he is an Ornn. He needs to get smacked around to some degree, and then get a really big Ornn horn to kind of set up play for Snippet or Chris Meister. And I'm not really certain if that is a stylistic choice of these two top laners, or it's just the way that the draft rolled out. Do you know any more about Memento or Gen MJ? Do you know anything about their play history?
Not much. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the chat in this game. Anyway, Memento I know plays a lot of Gangplank, and he doesn't play much else in terms of carries, so tank would be his default. I don't know tons about Jan MJ. It is possible that seeing both rosters, there are no other tanks to speak of on their roster. So seeing the Ornn, they felt like they had to respond with something that could go against the Ornn, at least in terms of tankiness in the late game. It's a little bit difficult to run a Kai'Sa without at least another dive buddy. So yeah, as long as you have that kind of something to come with you, at least, it makes your life a little bit easier. And a Maokai is definitely something that can have some imposing threat.
Interesting. I never really thought about needing a dive buddy on Kai'Sa. It makes a lot of sense though, because you're going to be going so deep in. She's such an interesting ADC to me, because you traditionally think of an ADC as just sitting in the back line, shooting, and that's basically it, right? Hopefully you have an Ornn or a Maokai standing in front of you, so that someone like a Rengar or a Nocturne can't be on top of you. Kai'Sa is very interesting in that she is very much a forward-thinking ADC. She very, very much dives forward, and having someone like a Maokai or a Kayn to go with her will make her a little bit less of a target when she does dive in, because while that shield is kind of nice, especially in the first few levels with her ultimate, it starts to kind of fall off pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden you're diving into a 40-minute team fight, and if you're not one-shotting the team, you kind of get one shot in return, because at the end of the day, you still are an ADC, even though you're diving in. She's very, very interesting to me. And it will be interesting to see how this Kayn plays out, because I really do not see Kayn at all, honestly.
Yeah, something interesting also is that he did take Dark Harvest. Oh, we had him reconnect. Okay, that's good. But yeah, the Kayn took Dark Harvest. I don't see Dark Harvest, honestly, all that much on any champion. I know Kayn is one that really took advantage of it back when it first came out. If you guys remember, when the new rune system dropped, they actually had to disable Dark Harvest on Kayn, because there was some bug or glitch or something that got discovered really quick because it was on him so much. But yeah, I mean, he clears the jungle fast enough to at least make use of it.
Yeah, he does have quite a bit faster of a clear, especially to Nocturne. Is that going to play into the first levels at all? I mean, Nocturne, while he can gank, pre-6, he's really just kind of waiting to get that paranoia off. Kane has quite a bit of an onus, at least more so, to gank at level 2 or 3 or 4, especially with that faster jungle clear. Or is he just going to try and outpower him to level 6, maybe counter jungle a little bit and just keep Nocturne down?
So my big thing is, honestly I would have liked to see the junglers switch places, and the reason why is that Kane is a jungler with lots of damage, but not any CC. So he needs gank assist when he walks into a lane. Most of RDE is missing gank assist. Their best gank assist is their Maokai, which again I did point out that he might be looking for red K, might want to hit this Ornn, but Vel'Koz E is not a very consistent move to hit. And your only thing in the bot lane that can actually help set up a gank is your Q until 6 and she gets her ultimate. But that isn't necessarily enough with no CC coming out of your AD either. So he might be looking for that top lane. Now, if he were on the other team, you have the Ornn with his, he has the little smack, and then he has his knock up. He has his Ornn horn. Anivia's got the wall and the Q. Thresh has multiple CC. Like, there's so much gank assist on the other side. You would have liked to see the Kane on the other team where he has those CC moves to take advantage of.
I did want to just mention that was 15-0-1, so they're not going to be penalized. They just want to use as much time to make sure that KTA does load in, because I think he's still actually technically not loaded in, so hopefully he should
he's here.
Be good to go. He is good to go. You were mentioning a lot of gank assist from the side. Full Send, however, Nocturne, as we mentioned a couple times, kind of likes to wait. Is this gank assist from Full Send going to be kind of anti-gank, actually, with the walls and the stuns and the knockouts and the hooks? Is it just going to be used to keep I Smell a Pig away? Or is it really going to invite Left Hook Larry to go for a level 2 or level 3 gank?
We just have to see. We'll have to watch how it plays out, because if used properly, obviously it could be used in a gank assist, but ganking with Nocturne is really not easy without that paranoia. So we have to see. Now, remember, the Thresh in the bot lane has the Ignite, has multiple CC moves against a squishy ADC and a squishy support. So plays could be made very easily down there to help get the Nocturne going even faster.
Sure. No one's looking really too scary right now. A Q start from Chris. He's looking to see if he can stun, but they're just kind of splitting things up. And I think agree with your thoughts as a Memento gets a little pretty deep ward there, but he's feeling pretty comfortable. He's a tank. I think that there's also going to be at least the first few minutes are going to be kind of slow unless anyone makes a horrendous mistake. I'm not feeling Left Hook Larry or I Smell a Pig really looking too hard into the gank because of the assist, because of the way that the champions work. And especially when we're looking at the mid lane now, that's just a farm lane. I mean, that is Anivia wants to wait until she can R, and then she's gonna just R until the game's over, and hopefully she wins. Maybe she doesn't. Actually, surprisingly, the FSG bot lane of Snippet and Phoenix were unable to get any of the CS before a crash on the wave. I believe that means I Smell a Pig did start on the top side. It's going to be a nice little experience lead for the side of Fineste and Yeye, but do they really have enough kill pressure to use that level 2, their first level 2?
I mean, I really think the thing they're looking for is push pressure, because if they have the push, Thresh has a lot harder of time setting up the kind of plays that he wants to onto the Nami, onto the Kai'Sa. With a push lane, you have to worry about the enemy's minions getting in the way of a hook, anything like that, and taking aggro when you get aggressive. So they don't necessarily need to use the advantage to level 2. They just need to make sure the wave is stacked constantly so they don't get aggressed on.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, kind of good defense is a good offense. And they do have a little bit of a CS lead already just because of it by forcing under the tower. I don't think they're going to be able to keep it just at the under tower the whole time. But we do see Memento pop in level 3 before JanMJ. Not sure he wants to do anything too crazy. He does charge onto him. Nice little trade there. He does have the Grassland dying that you mentioned as opposed to the Aftershock. So every time he gets just a nice auto attack here and there, it's going to give him a little bit more health. And actually, JanMJ does dash in, tries to knock him back. But does get the Aftershock proc. Doesn't really want to go for too much more. He's pretty tanky with the Aftershock, but unfortunately for JanMJ, Memento is just going to be more comfortable as he pops more and more of these grass as he pushes in further. It looks like Chris Meister just kind of wants to get a little bit more war control, look around the map, as he has lost a little bit of CS, but not the kind of difference that we're looking in the top lane or the bot lane, as Snippet and Phoenix has pushed everything all the way in. And it looks like Ice Pig might actually be looking for something here. Not sure he wants to go just yet. He does go across the wall. And a dash forward from Funeste. I don't think they have anything. The miss on the bubble might turn this off, and they are just going to put a little bit of damage down and kind of call it a day. I think they're really looking for that bubble to hit from Yeye. Nice little disengage from the side of Snippet and Phoenix.
Yeah, little plays like that can, they can, at very minimum, they can help out with the mentality bot lane. If you know that Kane is willing to come down and put pressure on, you might be a little bit more wary to push if you're on the side of FSG. And Misfortune and Thresh both are champion through aggression in the bot.
Yeah, Memento's really trading very, very well against JNMJ, but he's not feeling like he needs to all in at all. I mean, he has CS lead already and a huge health lead. He doesn't really need to push it at all. And you were mentioning that these kind of these force, he does dash forward and actually a flash away from JNMJ, really nicely timed. That probably would have been a kill there. But this aggression in the bot lane has opened up the CS lead even further. It's 2 waves now. And part of that is from the damage they have done onto Phoenix, but it's also because you're absolutely right. I saw him pick be jumping in at any moment now. He's already shown that he wants to be bot lane. So you don't want to be playing too far forward. It's going to force him farther under the tower, lose another CS here and there. And, 11 CS becomes 15 CS, becomes 20 CS. And that difference top lane, Memento, which he is hard winning his lane so far, he's a tank. If you're winning an equal distance in the bot lane, it's going to probably be more valuable towards later in the game, especially with a hyper carrier like Kai'Sa.
For sure. We see Kai'Sa get a little bit bullied under the stretch. She took the Q from Misfortune, which was, I don't know, maybe 20% of her health. But that Q Comet really, really will hurt in this early game.
Actually, it looks like Metro Glare is going to get engaged, but he has to have flash away instantly. I'm not sure Smellepig wants to push anything further. But the first flash can be blown for the side of FSG pretty easily, honestly, from the side of Red. And JNMJ actually does want to dash in. I'm not sure he wants to keep trading this, although there is no mana for Memento because JNMJ has teleport to the lane. Memento did not. Ornn really does have that nice little passive there when he wants to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah, something big about this top lane matchup that I did see is that Ornn not only went Corrupting Potion, which gives him and there's.
I'm not sure how that works with the.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that.
I'm also not certain who paused.
Yes, because
hopefully my fancy little production team can give me a little hit. It's left or right. So actually, that would mean that it's FSG, which means they do have a full 15 minutes. Which hopefully they don't use the full 15 minutes this time. But you were mentioning something about the top lane. I didn't want to interrupt you there. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Ornn did take the Corrupting Potion, which was, it not only provides health, but it also gives you mana and that trading ability that Ornn just took to the house. So, Maokai used his first few spell rotations to trade equally with the Ornn, but then he was out of mana, and then he started taking those bad trades. That forced the flash, that forced his TP out. All because Memento just bought Corrupting Potion first item. That's all it took. Now you see him with the Catalyst, and he's going to probably go into Abyssal Mask. He's just got such a massive advantage already. It just feels like he's bullying this Maokai right now.
I like the Abyssal Mask. There's at least 2 magic damage on the side of Red Dusk. There could potentially be 3. Technically, there is 3 with the Nami, but I'm mainly looking at Maokai and Vel'Koz. Speaking of that, the top lane, though, do you TP here, or do you potentially save it?
You have to think where you would TP. So if you TP bot lane, you're TPing into.
Sorry, really quickly. I meant, do you TP back to lane with a 10 CS lead?
Oh, with a 10 CS lead? Well, if you look up there, I mean, he has what magic is it? He's got a no magic mantle and a ruby crystal, and he's sitting on about 50% mana. If you TP up there, he's going to be stuck under that tower forever.
So you would want to TP up there as opposed to saving it for potentially TPing bot.
You could also walk top lane. That lane is stacked, and if he doesn't burn all of his mana to push that out, he's not going to miss an ounce of farm. So if you walk back, plus if you do want to set up that Nocturne alt bot lane, TPing in with the Ornn would almost guarantee first tower and potentially get you like both kills a lot easier. So they have to be. He gets his cup runneth over with decisions right now
Sure. Yeah.
for just
Absolutely.
taking one item. Yeah.
It seems it's. Well, I guess what I'm trying to highlight here is how much potential control you can get from just a few CS, a few good trades in the early game. It really can not only give you a lot of decisions, but can give you a lot of potential to push your advantage. As the advantage bot lane is kind of closed up a little bit, we're down to only CS now, or 7 CS, when it was almost 12 at one point, down to 1 wave, with a pretty decent wave stacking up. But I think the bot lane for SFG is wanting to back out as soon as we get out of this pause. And it looks like Red Dust is actually wanting to stay a little bit. So we're going to be back in the game here in just 1 second, and it should be pretty good to go now. And actually, it looks like Phoenix DC is going to face check this Nami, but yeah, he's really, really squishy. He's going to pop first blood for Snippet as the TP does go for Memento. That was the TP we were looking for. Ornhorn forces the flash away from Reneste. You were completely wrong about that first blood. I'm sorry, sir. We were at least right about the team that it was on and the lane. You said it was on Fineste, it was on Yeye. So I'll give you like, a C minus. I mean, like you passed. But a nice first blood from the side. First Snippet, you did want him to get pretty rapidly going with this lethality build. What about the ult, the TP ult from Memento though? Is that really necessary, as I Smell a Pig is actually going to gauge onto left hook Larry? Doesn't have the nice spell sheet, but that actually means he does get knocked forward. What about the ult? The Disintegration Ray gets KTA mid a kill, 1-1 on the board, equalizing the gold. Okay, so we're going to be nice and equal now, with a little bit of CS loss for the top lane. Who comes up top from? Who comes up better from these early trades?
Well, it's tough to say. I love the team fight. The team fight composition from the side of FSG is better, but in terms of flat scaling, I think Maokai outscales Ornn. I think Kai'Sa definitely outscales the Misfortune. So it's difficult to say which one. It's how they play the fights in the late game. I do know Anivia is something that's very difficult to deal with, no matter what champion you're playing, no matter what stage in the game you're playing. So we'll have to see how that works. Oh, yeah, just disconnected. Yeah,
it could be another disconnect. I would say, as Memento does dash in, I feel like when it comes to a scaling composition, going even is more of a win, if I'm not mistaken, especially when you look at like a pretty early game champion like Nocturne or Misfortune. So if they can keep this gold lead pretty nice and equally, especially as Left Hook Larry does pop up to his first Paranoia, we're going to have to see where he uses it and when. That could really swing the gold for FSG pretty easily. But so far things are pretty equal, as Finesse takes a nice dirty double tap from Misfortune in the bot lane. I literally was going to call her Misfortune. Missed hook from Phoenix, unfortunately. He hasn't really been hitting a lot, as a Paranoid does.
Ooh.
He does not have his flash, means he's just going to go down pretty easily. Kill given over to Left Hook Larry. Should it have gone to Chris, or was it supposed to go to Left Hook Larry?
Well, here's the thing, is that the Anivia will scale no matter what. Getting her ahead really early is good, but against a Vel'Koz, he can still poke in lane, so you're not really giving her much of a lane advantage. However, a Nocturne with that early kill, it'll give him more damage to help him duel against the Kayn, and when he does gank again, he'll have even more damage to potentially burst out the Kai'Sa. I think giving it to Left Hook Harry was a good choice. Giving it to the Anivia would obviously never be a bad choice, but I think giving it to the Nocturne in this case was the two options.
Awesome. Okay, Memento is still just bullying the heck out of JanMJ. JanMJ actually is still really, really far behind, even after that TP play in the bot lane from Memento. JanMJ is just struggling to kind of keep his footing, but you mentioned that he's going to outscale him, and the rest of his team is sitting okay, although they are just shy of 1,000 gold down. A lot of that actually probably is from the top side itself. Is this a point of contention? Does Left Hook Larry want to start looking there? Does that Smell a Pig need to start bailing JanMJ out?
Yes. Like I was saying earlier, I really think, honestly, the best case scenario for this Kayn is getting red Kayn. And the best way to do that is to go top and help bully against the help Jan MJ in this laning phase. He needs the help, at least to some extent, and helping him by ganking and getting, Red Cane in the process is just win for win for win. So I'm not sure why I Smell a Pig is kind of shying away from that lane.
He's really been hovering in the mid lane. Is that potentially because he's worried about the kill that has gone over to the side of FSG on KTA more than he's worried about the CS difference in top lane, which has actually amazingly just gone down to 11, even though it was about 20 something just a few seconds ago. Does he trust Jan MJ to just kind of absorb when he's more worried about getting KTA or potentially Finesse going as the two carries of the team?
That is possible. Protecting that bot side from the Nocturne ults and protecting that mid lane as best as possible certainly isn't a terrible strategy. It just feels like that's more reactive than proactive. And typically, at least when it comes to games like this, I like to see proactivity and not reactivity.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Checking in with the bot lane, by the way, the CS lead has still been maintained by Finesse. It's really unfortunate that the kill did go over. I believe it was before that Yeye actually DC'd. But another Paranoia onto KTA. He does not have flash up still, and he gets hooked instantly by Phoenix, and a pretty easy kill for Chris Meister. 4 of the FSG do rotate for that kill. 2 really easy Paranoia kills in a row, which you're mentioning can be pretty scary early on. And a really nice Ocean Drake at about 1150 picked up for SFG. Pretty nice in the early game for the early game composition.
Yeah, really great job by Left Hook Carry. Now both of his ultimates going on to this Vel'Koz and getting 2 kills on them, which is even more important. We see the Ocean Drake. That helps everybody, including the top lane, who now has the Corrupting Potion, the Catalyst of Eons, and an Ocean Drake to outlast this Maokai. And you're also talking about an Anivia who has now stacked so much mana that this mana regen is just going to help her out so much more. This early game's going really, really well for Full Send Gaming.
Yeah, so how about on the side of Red Dusk? Are we just going to put all of our eggs into the Finesse basket? I mean, he does have a pretty sizable CS lead at this point. Damn near getting rid of the first blood gold that Snippet was able to pick up. Should we just go all in on Finesse, or can we bail out KTA? Can we bail out Jan MJ? I mean, it's only 12 minutes in the game, but I read somewhere that top laners kind of slash FF15 when they do see a Ocean Drake on the enemy side.
For sure. The one thing I do note is that it's less than 1,000 gold lead, and the majority of that lead, I would say like 400 of gold of it is on Phoenix. It's not actually even on Snippet, it's on Phoenix, which is kind of a pain. Only about 100 gold lead in the mid lane, 200, 150, somewhere in that area for the Anivia. So this Vel'Koz is certainly not
getting caught out here. Does have to flash away. The disintegration rate is probably going to pop him. He's really, really tanky as the Kayn ult does pop him, but KT mid does get another kill back. Unfortunately, Yeye is still really plagued by connection issues, but there is no more pauses for the side of Red Dust, so he connecting quickly is kind of good for him. But so Memento, what was that? What just happened?
It looked like maybe he was trying to set up a play with the Nocturne ultimate. Oh, here comes bot.
Paranoia, there's the Nocturne ultimate. Paranoia does go onto Finesse. He's just a little bit too low. He goes down and just stands in the entirety of, is that bullet time? I believe, for Snippet. And that's a double kill for Left Hook Larry, who is getting really, really strong. Snippet, who was slightly behind, is just going to kind of hard win his lane as KTA goes down for the 3rd time. He misses his flash over the wall, so he's going to be down flash and dead for the 3rd time. A free blue buff for Chris Meister as things are really starting to run away from the side of Red Dusk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big thing, you gotta really appreciate Left Hook Larry in this game. That's 3 ults and 3 kills. You hit mid lane twice. You hit Finesse on the Kai'Sa already. You're kind of shutting down this Kayn. He hasn't done much yet. I think he is that red form. I think that's what that is on that skin. But
yes, he is red.
Yeah, I mean, every piece of what this composition really wanted to protect against is being exploited right now. The only thing that is positive for them is that the Maokai isn't down too far.
Yeah, you know, Jan MJ, who had a pretty bad early game, has been pretty comfortable in this island. He's only just like about a wave behind. He really has been battling very, very well. It is unfortunate to not stick grasp on him as he potentially gets hooked here. Actually misses the dash, the flag goes on, and the death sentence with the box as well, and the order. They're jumping so much in JMJ. He flashes away, but he gets hit by the armor. He might actually get away. That was so many resources on JMJ, and he just walks away.
That was incredible. That flash was absolutely gorgeous by JMJ. It got him out, literally bailed him completely out of that fight. For a guy that had such a rough early game, that was some incredible looking play. Oh wow.
Another Nocturne on Paranoia right onto Finesse. He doesn't have flash. He does have heal. He heals away, but he does get feared under the tower, and a kill goes back over to the side of I Smell a Pig. Electric Lair just went a little bit deep there. Did have to use his flash as well, and I Smell a Pig's ult is going to allow him to actually probably get out the whole time. He's going to get a kill for Snippet. 202, 126. He has a nice death sentence onto JMJ. The death sentences were really, really missing the first few minutes of the game, but Phoenix has hit hook after hook after hook the past few minutes. He's really feeling it all of a sudden, especially as the team is really ramping up. The disintegration ray will get rid of the wave. I'll probably save the tower for now. Another nice death sentence. I was actually thinking about mentioning the fact that Phoenix had been missing a lot of hooks in lane, which really can kind of hurt your mentality a little bit, as we were kind of mentioning that I Smell a Pig early ganked bot lane, although it didn't get a lot. It gave that mentality that it wants to gank. When you miss a lot of hooks as a Thresh, it can really kind of maybe screw with you a little bit, but he's hit hook after hook so far.
For sure. Like I said, it was in that laning phase was a little bit rough, and that was from Finesse and Yaya properly stacking the wave and properly playing around it. The early pressure from I Smell a Pig, like you mentioned, at least helps contribute to that. But yeah, now that we're out of that laning phase, he just feels so uninhibited. He can just walk around and hook whoever he wants whenever he wants. Something else.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Something else to note really, really heavily is despite Misfortune and Nocturne both having a ton of gold, there is no armor on the Vel'Koz, there's no armor on the Kai'Sa, and there's no armor on the Nami.
Paranoid does go to the KTA. He gets almost immediately obliterated. That was a solo kill. I do not care that Chris was able to get a assist with his ultimate. That was a full 100-0 from left hook Larry. As JMJ does want to ultimate onto Phoenix, but Phoenix is kind of tanky. He does get rooted up. Finesse might be able to get the bullet time actually used to disengage. I don't think I've really seen a lot of bullet times used that way. Another nice death sentence, but JMJ is actually really, really tanky at this point. And I kind of like that he's starting to feel like he can be pretty aggressive on this this bot lane, which you're right is building lethality, but he's got magic resist on him. He doesn't really care. He's a big boy right now.
It was. I gotta appreciate everybody in that situation. I feel like both players in JMJ and Phoenix played that super well. And even Snippet's ultimate to kind of zone them off. And then also Finesse, instead of ulting in, just blindly going in to try and kill the Thresh, he made sure to wait out the Misfortune ult. So everybody was thinking 10 moves ahead, but that puts them all on even ground. So really good job by everyone in that situation.
While the fight did come out even, left hook Larry was able to pick up a Mountain Drake for the side of FSG. That's going to be 2 Drakes for the side of Zero with 2 towers for the side of Zero. They were able to pick up the bot and the mid lane pretty easily, giving them about almost a 2.5k gold lead. It looks like they're kind of looking around this Rift Herald. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. I'm sorry about that. But is Red Dust able to kind of contest this possible Rift Herald coming up?
Well, should they?
Are they even going to go?
FSG definitely should. They only have 40 seconds now to take it. The worry is also, though, that with a Vel'Koz, you're stacked around the Rift Herald. So, you never want to worry about having that Vel'Koz be anywhere near. Yeah, they have 4 members on this top side, and they are going for the Rift Herald right now.
Yeah, they are going to start it up. It's down to about 40% health. They should be able to get it with the time frame with about 20 seconds left as they do pop the eye. They still need to smite it, though, as the Paranoid does go onto KTA once more. He flashes out, does get feared as both Yaya and KTA go down. JMJ is trying to zone the rest of the team. He does zone effectively, but he's not able to really do too much. As Electric Larry does not realize that the Rift Herald is not on his team, and he just dies kind of randomly. I think JMJ should be able to pick it up pretty easily. He goes to the Baron, but I don't think he can do it. Actually, dash forward from Finesse, he gets a kill onto Snippet. He might be able to get a double kill onto the side of Phoenix. Can he get the triple kill? I don't know if he can get it just yet. The stun guns hit. Oh, they do pop.
Ornn is on the way. Watch out, though.
Get a triple kill as the Ornn goes. Oh, they steal the triple kill.
No.
I Smell Pig gets it. So they do get 4 kills for 3, as well as the Rift Herald. Was that enough to bring Red Dusk back into this game, as they do teleport mid, potentially to drop the Herald?
Yeah, a big thing about that fight was that 3 kills went over to Finesse, and he showed a lot of really good ability to team fight right there. He was almost flawless in his positioning for the majority of that fight. Could have gone down to the Anivia if he had been any worse, but he wasn't. So, and the other thing was, somehow in the middle of all of that, RDE picked up the Rift Herald, and Left Hook Larry didn't even know. Left Hook Larry was trying to pick up the Rift Herald in the middle of that fight, and he didn't realize that they had lost.
He forgot to smite, I noticed. And it actually just went down to kind of AoE damage, as he was actually just all-inning Paranoia onto KTA. He was able to guarantee the kill on Yeye and KTA, but the objective was the Rift Herald. We'll have to see if it is able to equalize this tower score. They were able to pick up the mid lane tower and potentially maybe get the top lane or something like that for JNMJ, who I feel like he played that really well as the person who was bullied really early on in the game. He completely zoned out the bot lane of full FSG while his team did die a couple times. He really set up the rest of the team fight.
For sure. I thought that I Smell a Pig was... Well, he was bot side when that whole thing started. He definitely should have been up towards the area. And had he been there earlier, that might have even been a bigger sweep for the side of RDE. And they may have even been able to do Baron because they had JNMJ. They had I Smell a Pig up. So if they would have kept those two up and had Funstay with his percent health damage, might have been able to Baron afterwards, but he wasn't there in time. Still great fight on the side of RDE.
How do you feel about the optimizations, though? We were looking for like a bruiser side for my pick up the Black Cleaver. No armor for the side of JNMJ, who is up against a decent amount of magic damage, but eventually Snippet's just going to be doing so much damage, so is Left Hook Larry, that isn't he going to have to be picking up some armor here? He does have a Bombies. Is that just Sunfire Cape that I just kind of missed as I was just talking randomly?
He's gonna have to pick up armor eventually, but I do agree that I think the Abyssal Mat or the Adaptive Helm is really good into the Anivia. She's super short range, so they have to play almost front to back with an Anivia. You see right there, I mean, you saw the effect. Yeah, the amount of value he just got out of that Adaptive Helm in that ultimate was probably massive. So I liked that. Now he also went. He bought no armor. He went right into more health, which I think is a mistake. I think he needs that. Yeah, this might be a cut down. No. And
that's actually 4 members trying to get JNMJ. They do guarantee the top lane tier 1. It's going to be the final tier 1 for the side of Red Dusk. They are down 2 towers at this point. But yeah, there was a lot of potential engaged on a JNMJ who kind of calmly walked away.
Yeah, they Left Hook Larry walked in, and then you saw Phoenix walk in, and both of them just walked away. They all it took was just an E from Phoenix, and they probably would have killed him. And they just walked away. I don't know why they did that.
Maybe they thought he was a little bit too tanky. I mean, the Drake is coming up in about 20 seconds. They were probably potentially they're just looking for the tower and running. The Rift Herald is summoned in the top side of the map. They might be sacking the Drake or potentially dropping the Rift Herald in order to get pressure around the Drake. They're actually pinging on the Baron.
So they drop Rift Herald top lane to create pressure, and then what they're going to look to do is either A, they want to walk mid lane to try and pressure mid inner, or they go to Baron, which with the Kaiser would make a lot more sense, but it looks like they've been sniffed out here by FFG.
And unfortunately, they don't pop the blue ward at the Baron, but the Rift Herald does charge onto the top lane, unable to kill it on the... See if Chris Meister is able... Blue ward still isn't dead. If Chris Meister is not able to kill the Rift Herald before the tower goes down, it's now 2-3, only about 2k gold lead, not too sizable at 24 minutes, but there is 2 dragons for the side of Full Sail, and they're going to be able to pick up the potentially second Mountain Drake, as actually the Ornhorn is popped. Does hit onto 2 members and a TP as well, as a bullet time does hit onto not really too many people, and the Dragon isn't actually picked up yet. It's actually picked up by Snippet. Unfortunately, I smell a pig actually was able to ult away. I thought he actually died as the disintegration ray onto multiple people. No one's really gone down just yet. Everyone's just like kind of blinking health bars. Yeah, it does finally go down. First member of the fight. Jan MJ goes a little bit too far. He goes down as well as I smell a pig goes down, and it's going to be a 3-for-1 plus the Dragon for full send. Pretty nice pickup for FSG. Looked a little bit weird for a second.
Oh man, if that would have killed him.
KT had to blow his flash on cooldown for the 20th time this game, but he is alive.
That's a good thing. But you're right in that they did a really good job around this Baron. It looked almost like the fight was kind of split in that you had Ornn ult and then immediately go to the back line, and that's where the Vel'Koz was, and it's where Funsta was. But that meant that the front side of the fight, where everybody else on the side of FSG was, there was no damage. So they just killed the people right in front of them, and that's all that was necessary. Misfortune autoed the Dragon and killed it. Like, that was... that's both junglers.
Rock, actually.
Yeah, in any case, with two junglers in the pit fighting over it, that should not happen ever. That just shouldn't happen. Smite should take it. So at least solid awareness from the Misfortune to try to at least secure the Drake in that. Her ultimate wasn't spectacular, but it was enough to at least keep them away. And then I think Chris Meister also got dove on by the Kayn, and it popped his passive and he popped his Archangel shield, but he was able to get through it, and he was able to end up killing us.
Yeah, actually, I saw Pig live for a very, very long time, which was kind of interesting. He was in the Dragon Pit. I thought he died almost instantly, but he had actually his unit is because he ulted into maybe Christmeister, and I was really surprised how long he was able to live for. He does have Hex Drinker, though. Maybe I'm just kind of underestimating his strength right now, as he does hit the dash away. But Paranoia does actually go into KTA. He does immediately Zhonya's. That's just going to leave Yeye out to dry. Yeye's going to almost instantly die as a bullet time just blows a KTA. Somehow Yeye actually got away from all of that. But the Ornhorn almost kills him. He does go down in the Memento. Nice pillar there as the mid lane tier 2 does drop. Unfortunately, KTA is just really, or rather, Left Hook Larry really has KTA's number. He's been on top of him almost constantly. He knows that his flash is down. Even though he's Zhonya's, there's no one near him to help. Even when he's had flash up, it seems like Left Hook Larry has been able to just pull out these kills kind of really out of nowhere that I feel like KTA doesn't really seem much more like maybe it's positioning, maybe it's just awareness. That's going to be another tier 2 bot lane going down.
Yeah, wrapping up just objective by objective, it kind of looks like, save for that one Rift Herald fight, FSG just seems to be commanding everything right now. There's just so much damage also on the side of FSG from the Nocturne, from the Anivia, from the Misfortune, even from the Ornn potentially, and just seeing them willing to engage constantly onto KTA just takes away any semblance of it, what could be a actual team fight from the side of RDE.
We have seen Fineste able to pop off, as you mentioned, in the Rift Herald fight, but with his mid laner kind of out of commission for the time being, he's not really able to get set up for the team fights properly. Is that just a matter of time as we see the Rage Blade, the Zhonya's, and the Storm Razor for Fineste? Is it okay that his mid laner isn't really setting him up? Does he just need to get enough items and then he just right-clicks and wins the game? Or lacking this mid lane setup, is Finesse not really going to be able to do what he did at the Rift Herald?
Well, here's what I'm really worried about, is that every single, like all three of what would be at least the damage dealers on the side of FSG currently are about 2,000 to 3,000 gold ahead of KTA. KTA is so massively behind that if Funsta actually walks or gets out of position even a single time, the game probably is just over because they have nothing. Like, just KTA can't do enough damage. Even with the items he has Archangels and he has Zhonya's that doesn't give a ton of, it gives a fair amount of AP, but it does nothing else. You're not talking about a Leandries, you're not talking about a Rabadons, there's nothing that you're stacking in terms of damage. It's so defensive that KTA can't put out the damage that Funsta can't. So if Funsta dies to a Nocturne ult or to a Misfortune ultimate, the game's over. They can't do anything. The FSG is just going to take Baron and in.
Is this a misdraft or just unfortunate, just kind of couple of kills coming on the side of KTA?
I gotta give credit to the Nocturne. Completely honestly, that was the last pick in the draft, and Left Hook Harry looks really good on it. He's hit so many ultimate kills. It just puts so much pressure on KTA too. I think 3 or 4 of his ultimates that ended up being kills were on to KTA alone. He's got 6 deaths. He's had to build completely defensively. He's essentially shut down the team fight of RDE by completely taking Vel'Koz out of the equation.
I will say, while I'm not the most killer jungler, I do actually have 11-1 ranked win rate on Nocturne right now. I'm really surprised, as I mentioned earlier, that he was either just instantly banned or first picked up. And you're right. I mean, he is really just... Whoa, that almost was stolen away. He's really just taking a lot of this game from RDE, and I feel like you're right. It probably could just be from the draft as the 3rd Mountain Drake is gonna be picked up for FSG. Is that not just a free Baron?
I mean, the big thing is that with a lethality Misfortune, it's not necessarily Baron. She doesn't do tons of consistent damage. Now she does some consistent damage, enough to at least take the Baron, but they can. This isn't, you know, the opposite side. This isn't the Kai'Sa with Triple Mountain. Kai'Sa with Triple Mountain could probably completely solo the Baron on her own and not even worry about it. But because it is a Misfortune, you still can't just worry about an insta Baron take. The Anivia can use it pretty well. The Anivia will be good with it with that ultimate in the Triple Mountain Drake, but Misfortune isn't the greatest Mountain Drake user of all.
Okay, that makes sense. They do have vision control completely. Forcing Axemal pick to actually just dash through the wall to check. He gets Death Sentence, immediately dies, almost dies. Actually, Dusk gets hooked up, but actually it turns out to be a kill for Phoenix as the bullet time does pop. Wow. I smell a pig. And actually nice Zhonya's for the Nocturne ultimate, but a Oranhorn's going to pop through almost the entirety of RDE. It's going to allow for Snippet to just run through this team. He is full health. Unfortunately, they're only not able to get the ace, but Snippet was full health through the entirety of that fight. Only one player does go down on the side of FSG, and they're going to turn on the Baron right now. They do have a triple mountain, but an ultimate aim from... Whoa! Where did Funesta go? He goes utterly obliterated. The ultimate didn't really go too well for him, and a free Baron plus an almost clean ace, a 5-for-1 for the side of FSG. They have been really strongly in control of this game, but I think it's just kind of a little bit too far at this point. They were ahead in the early game, but never just like snowballing. But at this point, I think it's just going to be working their way towards the tier 3s and potentially the inhibitors. Yeah.
Funsta has to posture really, really defensively because of the threat of Left Hook Larry. And because of that, it didn't actually look like Funsta got any damage off before the fight started or any sort of assisting. So they pop Kane, so that's their smite down. And then they kill 4 other members because Memento is just on the front line tanking everything and CCing everybody. It was... Like I said, Funsta didn't start fighting until everybody else on his team was dead, which is why this team kind of lost that fight so hard.
What about that last ult? Was trading and kill worth it, or should he have just let it go?
Best case scenario, you kill Left Hook Larry and you pop the passive of Anivia, which he did pop the passive of Anivia, but he didn't kill Left Hook Larry. So essentially, he traded his ultimate for Anivia's passive and the Baron and his life. That is not a trade you want to make ever. He should have walked away. Maybe tried to steal the Baron with a stray W or something. But honestly, at that point, he should have. He knew that the fight was. He shouldn't have been playing that.
Okay, I mean that just makes sense. You know, I'm just curious. I mean, like, is the dream alive? I don't know. Live, what can RDE do to slow down this Baron push and potentially turn this game around? as a stun does go on to KT.
Oh,
Wow,
no.
KT totally obliterated. Seraph's Embrace is not enough for them. As a hook does go on to JanMJ. He doesn't have a lot of armor. Paranoia goes on to Finesse. He does get the Zonias off, and actually Larry's going to be knocked up in the tower range. Lives for quite a long time, but he's actually going to be able to die as Isolate Pig actually does get the shutdown onto Snippet. Electric Larry's down as well, but here comes Mento knocking 2 up. He's trying to get the kills back as Isolate Pig finally does go down. Same with JanMJ, a double kill for Chrismeister. You kill 1, you kill 2 of the carries of FSG, but they are ready to win the game. They're going to kill or take down the tier 3 mid lane tower. Probably they already took down the tier 3 bot, take down both inhibitors. This really big death timers. This really could be the end here. Not sure if they're really going for it just yet. I think it might actually just be the end, as KTA is the only one really able to respond to them right now. The first next turret's going to go down, flash forward onto KTA. He does get these Zonias out. He doesn't get stunned, but it doesn't really matter because there's no one really to support him after Zonia's pops. Yeye can't really do anything against this very, very large FSG team. He does go and he does get hooked instantly. And here comes Fineste with a Guardian Angel, but he's just going to get his Guardian Angel popped immediately as a Nexus. He's going to be targeted. This is going to be first win for FSG in this best of 3. Very nice for the team that is actually 1 win behind. Could you, for me, good Mr. Rebel Fox, sir, unpack that game just a little bit for the next minute or 2?
Okay, so for starters, obviously you have to give at least a small amount of leeway to RDE. We saw a couple of their players, not just one. KTA came in really late. Yeye was kind of disconnecting and then again, I think even Funsta at one point did disconnect and reconnect. So connection issues did plague the team. I'm willing to give them a small amount of leeway for that. That's something I'm willing to give. However, here's what they did wrong. KTA on the immobile mid lane was way too far up against the Nocturne. We saw him get punished for that multiple times. Time and time again, we saw that happen. We saw them take advantage of bot lane. We saw that with the Nami kill super early, and then they got first tower bot lane. They got all of these kind of things that they wanted to have. And so when you play to your objectives, when you play to your misfortune and you play to your Nocturne, not building armor, not being proactive on the side of RDE prevented them from actually ever having a chance to come back in. We saw a few fights there where even, I think it was their jungler, the Kayn, was really doing damage in fights, really doing well, but they just didn't have enough without a Vel'Koz and without a super fed Kai'Sa to really win every fight. And that's where I think RDE really went, is they were playing reactively really heavily. It took them a long time to get that armor online, to shut down the Nocturne, to shut down the Misfortune. And by that point, Anivia was just too far gone and they could just take over the game.
Might need a little bit more proactivity from the side of Red Dusk. My name's Hickory, that guy. Fox, we're going to kick it to a break really quick while we get the next game set up. Summoners, welcome back. We were able to see Folsen take a game over Red Dusk in the previous game from some really strong drafting from Folsen and an early game lead they were able to push towards the rest of the game. As we start making, we're not going to draft just yet, but as we start making our way towards the draft, what do we need to see out of Red Dusk to potentially change the outcome of the previous game?
Well, for starters, they did sub out Yaya, which with the connection issues and with the loss of 15 minutes, I mean, it does kind of make sense. I'm not sure actually. Actually, the guy that had it support just left the game, so I'm not sure why. But Yaya, if he still has connection issues, you do want him. Now, when it comes to composition, they need to be more aware of what can happen in terms of the jungle pressure. I mean, left hook Larry looked really, really good on the aggressive jungler, and he's very good at many aggressive junglers. You might have to just start out banning him to keep this team together. I think that's your first target.
So you think that left hook Larry needs to be targeted? They've dropped the Lee Sin on him, correct?
Yes, they did. I believe the Talia as well.
Yeah, and we were thinking
Talia.
and the Rengar. You're right. So there were quite a few bans in him. Can they do more than 3 bans anyway? I mean, is his pool deep enough that 3 bans are not a problem? I think not banning Nocturne was an issue to begin with, but like even if you ban the Nocturne, Lee Sin, and the Rengar, then does he just pick up the Talia?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. If you ban all of them, I know he's played Pantheon before. He plays some Pantheon at least. You even play like something like Xin Xiao is still around, Kha'Zix is still around. Like, there's just so many of them. Maybe a better option is just to leave all of them up and come up with a counter pick. You could maybe play the Poppy. That's something that we've seen into these aggressive junglers because a lot of them have that kind of mobility. Into the Nocturne, you can kind of deny that ultimate with the Poppy W and knock him away with the ultimate. So might be something to consider from I Smell a Pig. Not really sure. Maybe you get really aggressive on I Smell a Pig. I liked the Kayn, but he wasn't aggressive with it. He really was rather passive for the first. I mean, we saw the one gank bot lane, but really didn't have another gank that worked out. I mean, he didn't really get aggressive on a pick that should have been better than the Nocturne early. So I think that's where they also kind of short.
Okay, well, we're going to have to see how things go as we start running our way through the draft itself, which should be starting here pretty soon. It is kind of a problem when you start talking about a player that has not only a deep champion pool, but the ability to really hard carry a game. I mean, while there were quite a few kills going on the side of Prismeister and Snippet, and, Phoenix was hitting hooks, Memento was bowling, left hook Larry was really, really just dominant all game long, and you're right. You might not need to play around him, or rather against him better and play around I Smell a Pig better. It was interesting to see a basically gankless Kayn. I think if you're going to play that way, maybe a Sejuani. You mentioned Poppy, something to kind of counter the opponent. But hopefully we can jump in the draft here pretty soon. Outside of the jungle, what do you want to see from kind of either team?
I did like Finesta on a champion he can carry with. Kai'Sa's a really good champion to carry with and can do some pretty amazing things, but you have to consider some other champions in that slot as well. He was very good on it, so it could be banned. You also have to consider it doesn't do much in the laning phase. It doesn't have tons of kill pressure because there's no real CC that goes along with it. There's not tons of poke that goes around with it. It's really just designed to get through the laning phase so you can get to those item spikes. If you played something like Tristana or Jinx, they have at least something to all in with, or something to kind of change the game with the ultimates. You have Tristana's rocket jump, you have Jinx traps for gank support. He could play something like that and hyper carry the game in the same way. KTA needs to, if he's going to play something, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that we have been jumping in the draft, and it's a Nocturne and Thresh ban for Red Dusk, which means over 3/5 of the FSG team is gonna have to be turned around. You were mentioning hyper carries. They FSG on the other hand is banning both Graves and Kog'Maw, and they're actually banning the Kayn. Is that really a worthy ban when we're kind of wondering about the actual potential that Iceman Pig was having on that Kayn?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm trying to find the draft tool because apparently
just
mine
scroll up a
isn't.
little. FSG banned Kayn. I was wondering if if that was a worthwhile ban, as Red Dust actually does first pick Kai'Sa.
They banned the Kayn. Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't think his Kayn was super impressive, but I mean, obviously, he looked at least comfortable with it. In that late game, the red Kayn in the late game was sustaining and doing tons of damage. That double kill at the end was indicative of what it could do if it got to that point again. So it's not that it wasn't effective. It's that I don't know if it was ban worthy to this point.
Sure, and then that was kind of I was wondering, as the Morgana misfortune is picked up on the side of FSG, a little bit of swappy swaps for the bot lane of both sides. You were mentioning that you really wanted Finesse to be able to carry really hardcore on potentially a Kai'Sa, but is Snippet able to do the things that he was able to do in the previous game with actually he's going for the same misfortune. I'm sorry, I have the draft backward. That makes a little bit more sense now. So it was Finesse that you wanted to get the Kai'Sa back and able to do a lot of damage, as a Malphite is picked up for JNMJ. He likes these tanks. Why not the Maokai again?
It may have something to do with the fact that the Maokai provides engage, but it's difficult to play engage. You have to really flank, or you have to get a teleport down really deep, or you just have to kind of stand in the right place and like you got to counter engage. A Malphite, on the other hand, he can just you flash ult in the middle of your team. He can flank ult. He can do a lot of different things, but it's direct engage. It's Malphite presses R, the team fight begins, and that's I think why is they don't want to have to wait for an engage.
So engage-wise, we do have Kha'Zix coming out on the side of Red Dusk Esports, but with Orianna, speaking of engage, do you think that's belying FSG is looking for an engage type jungler like Rengar, like Pantheon, or like Lee Sin to put the ball on top of from Orianna and then ult? Is that a little bit of a show of their hand?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw last game, they were running the exact same kind of composition with like the team fight. We saw the Misfortune, we saw the Anivia. Now we see the Anivia banned out, so we instead see the Orianna to try for this Wombo combo. FSG is really leaning towards team fight, and their draft also shows that. Look at what they've been banning. They banned Graves, they banned Kayn, they banned Zed, and now they banned Nami, but what we're seeing is these kind of oppressive champions that can do things to single targets. So like Kayn and Graves can invade really hard. Zed can dominate his lane. They don't want that. They want to win their lanes, and then they want to take it to team fight, and then they want to win the team fight with a very direct.
Right on. The Rengar that I was looking for, unfortunately, is going to get banned out. So we're going to have to see what the fourth pick for FSG is an Aatrox, who I kind of like the Nocturne has just slipped through this draft. Is that, again, a missed ban? He is so oppressive in the early game. We did see a pretty strong showing from Memento, although he was on the Ornn, maybe with the carries a little bit scarier, as Galio is hovered for the side of Red Dusk. We'll see if he does decide to pick it up. They will be missing their support, I believe, as Galio is locked in. So a last pick support, Lulu, another enchanter, interestingly enough. Not a lot of tankiness, not a lot of dive or setup from the side of Red Dusk, as the jungler is going to be last picked for FSG. What do you want, really quickly? What is it?
Really quickly?
Yeah, what is it? What is it? What is it?
Is a juggler. It's Lee Sin.
Lee Sin. Okay, we're gonna see if it's Lee Sin. It's probably there. You're totally wrong. 100% wrong. Not even remotely close. Kind of beefy, actually, on the second half of the draft from FSG, when we were seeing pretty squishiness from the first half. I mean, that kind of makes sense. You know, Morgana, Misfortune, Orianna, not really big boys by any means, since most of them are female. One of them's a robot, but you know, same thing. But a pretty I want to go forward kind of team comp from RDE. How do you feel about that? I mean, they want to smack you in the face.
Yeah, RDE, like, just immediate. They can do Kha'Zix dive into Galio. They can go Malphite into Galio for double engage. They have, Malphite into Lulu ultimate into Galio ult for triple engage. But, like, in terms of flat damage, Kha'Zix early will have a lot of damage. Galio will have damage kind of like a little bit throughout most of the game, but probably won't have a ton. Kai'Sa is your main source of damage again. I have a pretty major issue with that. I don't like mono source of damage compositions, especially when it's a Lulu against a Morgana Misfortune. They don't have kill pressure, so they can't snowball this Kai'Sa super. So if they fall behind, their composition fails because they have a ton of engage, but it means nothing if they're all too weak to fight after the engage happens.
I'm a little bit curious. I mean, so how do I explain this? I saw the Misfortune do very well on the side of Snippet, but is that a comfort pick in particular? Because we don't see a lot of Misfortune when we do see a ton of Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I mean, Misfortune is a strong champion. Did I just hear that? Anyway, Misfortune can build in a couple different ways. You do have that kind of like lethality build with the Black Cleaver, Yumu's Duskblade. You can also go into crit. Her ultimate crits, which means it does true damage. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about the Infinity Edge rework, is that her ultimate, when it crits, does true damage because it counts as a crit. The Misfortune is, he looked comfortable on it last game, and it, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I mean, just let him keep doing it.
Misfortune's ultimate with Infinity has just 2 damage?
Because her ultimate can crit. So if you build crit on Misfortune, then it does crit. And because it's critting, it does 10% damage.
How do you build that? Stormrazor's rapid fire IE?
I've seen a couple of different ways to do it. A lot of the best ways that I've seen is like if you go Essence Reaver immediately, then you have Q cooldown once you do ultimate, which is interesting for kind of like line fights. Or in this case, they'll have a stacked fight. You can go into Rapid Fire Cannon, Infinity Edge, that kind of thing, and just have massive range against whoever you're fighting. She has a bunch of different ways. I think the main one that you see is she goes lethality start. She goes Yumu's Duskblade, and then eventually builds her way to that Infinity Edge. So she has that as a 5th item, 4th item.
Yeah, I've never even thought of a crit-based Misfortune. It's kind of interesting, though. Do you still run the Comet there, or do you go for maybe like Conqueror?
So, it's funny that, Conqueror is a really popular summoner for a Misfortune to take in any case. I think Comet's just better because if you snowball with Comet in lane, it gets you your items faster. Anyway, but I think you can take either or. When you do build that attack speed crit build initially, Conqueror is better and more, efficient. But if you're going that Yumu's Duskblade into IE for your ultimate, then it is actually better for you to have lane.
That's interesting. It's cool that an ADC has so many paths, which we have seen with like Kai'Sa and like Varus. But like I always feel like ADCs are really stuck in just kind of like 1 or 2 cookie cutter builds, and then that's about it. I mean, season 6, season 7 with crit build.
Blade of the Rune
build. Well,
Black Cleaver.
Started to get a little bit stupid there for a while. But outside of the build paths, who do you feel like won this draft? What are some win conditions of the teams here?
Okay, so in terms of flat team fighting, I do like the team fight of Red Dusk Esports. My primary issue, one of their lanes seems like it loses. Like they don't have a winning. Like Aatrox will bully Malphite. Orianna can at minimum equalize with the because he has no kill pressure. And Kai'Sa Lulu doesn't have tons of kill pressure like against a Misfortune Morgana. So my thought is, where are you going to hit on the map if you're Kha'Zix? Because again, the only place you can hit is mid lane. We've seen Krizzmeister, definitely he performed better than KTA last game. You're not going to hit bot lane because of the Morgana, so there's no hard CC down there. So who are you going to hit with a gank from Kha'Zix, save for maybe invading against this Volibear? And do you really want to invade a Volibear as Kha'Zix?
Well, see, that's the question I'm asking you.
That's the issue that I'm running into with the composition. Now, here's the thing. On paper, in theory, a Malphite ultimate stacked into a Lulu ultimate, stacked into a Galio ultimate, with a Kai'Sa just hammering shots in, sounds really good. But in practice, how many times are they going to get that wombo combo off? On the other side, I wanted to see a ball delivery from somebody for the Orianna, but it didn't come out. I mean, what is Volibear going to run at you with Righteous Glory? That's your ball delivery? Like, that's the best that happens. But their team fight is pretty reactive. Aatrox can ultimate, and then he can live through the initial engage. Volibear has his passive, so he can survive through that initial engage. Orianna ultimate can definitely counter engage against anything they have. So winning lanes across the board and this kind of counter engage team fight sustain comp that has been built by FSG makes me think that they have an edge.
So you're thinking that FSG probably is going to be able to pull out the 2-0 here.
Yes.
All right. I like to hear that. That would tie them for a total game score, I believe, correct? If the stats team can inform me of that. I believe that they're going to be tied afterwards. It's going to be pretty nice for FSG. Going to set them pretty solidly in maybe 4th place, 5th place. Stats team could probably also check that out, I bet, at the same time. But I kind of feel pretty good about the FSG team comp as well. I really like seeing Orianna just in general, especially as we get closer to Worlds, because we all know the Worlds meta is tank top and Orianna mid, or maybe Azir mid. So I like to see the Orianna as we get closer to it. There are 3 teleports on the side of RDE, though. Is that going to be kind of scary for FSG? Answer that question actually in just a few moments, because we are going to pop ourselves to a spot from our sponsors. My name's Hickory. Over here with me is Rebel Fox. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to see you in just a few moments when the game starts.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate Games XP in Decorah, Iowa. Games XP is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The Game XP motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa, and check out Games XP and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Red Dusk Esports versus Full Send Gaming. FSG was able to go up 1-0 in this best of 3. I want to let you know what their scores are currently. Red Dusk Esports is sitting at 4-0-2 right now. Full Send Gaming is 4-3 since they were actually able to beat Schism earlier in the week. That would mean that if they're able to beat Red Dusk Esports, not only would they go ahead in the head-to-head, they would actually be sitting at 5-2. 5-3, excuse me, which puts them at second place, right under White Lotus, as NFG, who is 4-2, has not played, excuse me, just yet. And it looks like we might have a level 1 dive. I didn't ask you what your first blood prediction was, so I'm going to let you just slide by, as we might have the level 1, but it looks like actually Finesse Day is going to be pretty comfortable. So, what's your level 1 prediction since the game has already started?
Level 1 prediction?
No, first blood.
First blood predictions. I'm thinking this one is going to be a lot earlier than last game. I think we're going to see either, man, it's tough to say whether the Kazakhs invades the Volley or the Volley invades the Kazakhs. I think Volley.
Do it now. No, say it. Come on, what is it?
Oh, no.
You're too late. Looks like a KTA is going to be engaged upon a flash forward, actually, from Memento. He really get this kill, but I think actually KTA can just kind of flash away, and he's quite all right as a red buff to start it up. Flashes down for the top lane and the mid lane, respectively, but not a lot there. KTA probably can just go back to lane, and he's fine. A little bit of a trade between both supports, but I think actually Pops Frycook, who actually was subbed in, by the way, for Yeye, who was having technical difficulties for the side of RDE, he did win that trade just a little bit.
Yeah. So, by the way, just so you know, because it's about to happen, I think Volibear and Aatrox were supposed to invade, and they're going to kill the Kazakhs, which I think might happen here at Wolves, potentially. Volibear could always just be going for that Rift Scuddler as well, but...
He is sitting on a ward.
Yes.
Might make it a little bit harder.
That's the prediction, is the Volibear and maybe the Aatrox. It looks like he's pathing towards bot's side. I think the Volibear invades and kills the Kazakhs first.
So KTA did blow his teleport because of that early game start. But a lot of damage is going out onto the side of FSG bot lane. Snippet and Phoenix in particular has been poked out quite a lot. Pig is just kind of comfortably farming up, but a double Rift Herald start for Left Hook Larry. What does that mean for the jungle matchup?
Kazakhs did... Wait, he started blue side. He full cleared blue side. That's weird. Kazakhs actually has a tendency to have kind of a struggle clearing his blue side jungle, or his red side jungle. So he cleared out his entire blue side. I switched to the sides of thinking right, but he probably won't be able to get a full clear off. Oh, here we go. Left hook Larry, go! No, go into the jungle. Woo! No. No.
I think it might be a little bit behind.
If I'm ahead.
And hopefully we can get things set up a little bit better, as a first blood does go to the side of FSG. First blood for Left Hook Larry. I think it's the second time in a row he's gotten first blood. KTA goes down, unfortunately, for like the 6th time this series. He's the first blood this game. As Memento does dive onto JMJ, gets the pullback, but I think that's a really big wave. Doesn't really want to go too much farther. But a really bad start for the side of KTA. Left Hook Larry feeling really comfortable again this game, but he's not playing that Nocturne. Can he really, on Volibear, take over the game with the early experience lead, the early kill, or is it just kind of a nice start?
Well, when was the last time that you saw Volibear take over a game?
I don't know. I don't remember the last time I even saw Volibear, truthfully.
Yeah, this is the issue. I do know Left Hook Larry does play a little bit of Volibear, but I'm not sure in the grand scheme of things how much that'll mean. If anything, to me, it's actually a shutdown on the Galio. No TP, no flash, and the death means that Ori can probably be.
Another pullback for the side of Memento as he goes on JMJ. I don't think hold his flash, very comfortable in the amount of health that he does have, but he's going to be forced back. He's probably need to use his TP as he loses a decent amount of CS, but he was actually quite a bit behind in the CS marker last game. Although he wasn't a tank versus tank matchup. Is this going to be a little bit harder for him this game? He seemed pretty comfortable, actually, after about like the 15th minute or so. But with the Aatrox, it's going to become a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, there was quite a bit of a lead, but it did take a small time to accrue. But at this point, I mean, the Aatrox is already up two and a half waves of minions on him, and he hasn't even gone first back yet. So, the first back for the Malphite was a refillable potion, boots, and a cloth armor. That is not the first back that you want to have.
Left Larry is looking top. He doesn't have his flash, but he is going to be able to get onto JMJ. Let's see if he can get knock up. He does not. And the pullback from Memento does not hit, but there's a lot of damage going down onto JMJ. JMJ does get off. He's really, really tanky and actually does flash away because he's able to save it last game, or last 1v1 attempt from Memento. Pretty nice from JMJ, but he is down a teleport. You mentioned that he only has boots and cloth armor with a refillable. And Memento is just kind of hanging here as he pulls it back once again. Aatrox is such a bully, and it looked like Memento was able to bully on the Ornn. I mean, we were worried about JMJ earlier in the previous game. Is this just really just going to start snowballing pretty hard?
Once he gets another back or two, he should be okay. Once he's got, his first completed armor item, maybe a Bomby Cinder to help him CS a little bit. But this Aatrox's aggression just probably won't stop. Jeez.
Aatrox is a really, really scary champion. Earlier in the game, he is able to knock up JMJ once again, actually another time as he pulls him back. And Memento actually, that was just a trade for him. He's not even all in. He just kind of uses teleport with his Phage. Feeling really, really comfortable as a 1.5k gold lead has started to balloon in the first 7 minutes with a 11 CS difference bot lane and 15, 16 mid lane and a 20 some odd in top lane. Is this snowball starting to happen really, really rapidly, or is Red Dust just kind of just feeling a little bit burned the first few levels, and they're going to be able to turn it on in a few seconds?
Like I said, they don't really have any winning lanes, so it doesn't shock me to see that they're down so far. What does pain me is that, again, even on this Kha'Zix, I Smell a Pig is playing on the back foot. He's not ganking anybody yet. He hasn't done anything. Royver already has a kill. He has a successful gank to his name where he got a flash. He's even pretty comparable in farm. I mean, he's taken every Rift Scuttler. Like he's just outclassing I Smell a Pig right now, Left Hook Harry there.
Yeah, I would actually like to kind of see for Left Hook Larry's is actually JMJ. We'll talk about a little bit. The Fear as a nice ultimate away from JMJ, but he's going to get knocked back. It should be a pretty easy kill. Give it over to Memento. What I was going to mention is I wonder what the win rate is for junglers, especially in like Plat and Diamond, when they get the first 3 scuttlers is. Not the win percentage on the champion, not anything like that, but what happens in the situation when they get the first 3 Rift Scholars? How rapidly or ratcheted does their win rate go up? I feel like it has to be a massive difference from when you get 1 or 2 of the first few Rift Scholars, just because of how much gold and experience you can get from the first few game levels. I was looking, Larry is looking for the mid lane, but I think he's probably just going to walk it off. But he actually got the 4th Rift Scholar. I mean, how do you get gold as I Smell a Pig?
Yeah, I mean, he can farm, but the best way to do it is to start ganking. KTA mid is the guy you probably want to gank. He has the E. He has the... Oh, no.
Nice route onto Fineste. He does get the damage reduction from the KTA mid, but the damage is enough for Snippet. He's able to get his first kill of the game with his first bullet time. I'm actually surprised that the kill did go through. Fineste was in the damage reduction from KTA mid, and it also looked like KTA mid's actual body was in front of him. The last shot or 2 for Snippet is able to get the kill. Did have to blow his flash, but a pretty easy 1 kill as almost 3k gold lead all of a sudden 9 minutes into the game. No TP for the side of Snippet, so he's not going to be able to return the pressure that Fineste is able to get. But with that kill, they are going to be able to pick up another very early Ocean Drake. This one about 3 minutes earlier than the previous one, in the previous game.
Yeah, it was really, really unfortunate. It was unlucky, as you might say, for Fineste that he got taken down with that very last tick of the misfortune. The Galio ult was really good. I'm really frustrated in I Smell a Pig for not being there earlier. I mean, the Misfortune was super far up, easily could have killed her had he gotten onto her, and had he been there a little sooner, maybe instead of ulting Finesta, they could have ulted KTA, or he could have ulted I Smell a Pig, and then they turn that into a 2-for-1 rather than just giving up the kill and getting nothing in return.
Yeah, I mean, the rapidness of KTA's ultimate meant that he was really, really early. Again, unfortunately, Phoenix misses his route, but he actually doesn't go down. I was getting a little bit worried for him just there. But it was another engagement. They're really, really pressuring this bot side. Does left hook Larry really need to be looking bot this much with a decent CS lead and a kill? Or is he worried about Snippet's lack of summoners?
Did you say left hook Larry coming down?
Yeah. I mean, left hook Larry's really been forcing his way bot lane, even though there is a lead in the bot lane. Is it just because he's got a lead in all lanes, he can do whatever he wants? As the first scuttler finally goes to I Smell a Pig.
Well, here's my issue with where he can go. If I Smell a Pig goes top lane, that I would actually put the chances of them killing the Aatrox lower than the chance that Aatrox kills both of them at this point. Which is shocking to say, that a champion is more likely to double kill than for two champions to kill one. But at this point, the Aatrox is just too ahead. So he doesn't need to go top lane. Mid lane, I mean, the Ori just wants to scale, and he probably has some relevance of kill pressure in that mid lane. So left hook Larry can just sit there, farm up, take Rift Scuttlers, and then look to bot lane to snowball them past that Kai'Sa even further.
They were able to pick up the Rift Herald, so the perfect game dream for FSG is gone. Maybe that'll be able to allow them to equalize the gold a little. Bullet time, a little bit early use potentially for Snippet as a flash forward ultimate from Pop's Fry Cook. That was intense, but a lot of damage is going back onto Finesta. A trade kill for Snippet. Finesta is able to get the kill in the end, and the ultimate, I believe, was used from KT, but no, he's actually just walked his way down. Flash forward my Spell Pig is able to finally get the 2-for-1 kill, but that was an incredible amount of damage coming back from Snippet. It looked like a pretty easy kill for Finesta, and I think he's surprised with that much damage coming in, as the Oriole might be used here onto KTA. Not just yet, he does have a double taunt onto both FSG members. Really nice knockup. There's the big ultimate, and unfortunately KTA isn't able to get his ultimate off either, as he does go down to left hook Larry. 5 for 2 is a kill score now. 2-0 on left hook Larry, 2-1 on Snippet. That was a little bit odd decision making from the mid jungle of a Red Dusk, as looks like Memento wants to kind of keep forcing this onto JanMJ. Here comes left hook Larry, flash forward, does knock him off, and the ultimate away from JanMJ might be enough. He's saving his flash forward from Memento. I don't think he wants to use the ultimate actually from Memento. He's still trying to go a flash away from JanMJ, but I think he's still gonna go down. Maybe he does almost get away. Smite from left hook Larry almost gets it, but here comes I Smell a Pig. Oh my god, JanMJ got away. Unbelievable. I think I Smell a Pig is gonna be able to pick up the skill. He's actually not able to. The regeneration from left hook Larry a little bit too much, as the mid lane turret does go down for Chris Meister, and a Snippet is able to walk away from the damage coming out of Finesta. That was pretty weird.
I'm convinced JanMJ is a magician. That is, how many times in this, 3 or 4 times in this series, he has just walked out of situations that he should not have walked out of.
Yeah, I mean, he's absorbing so much pressure. It's unfortunate how far behind he's been in both games, but he's really just not dying. I mean, he's really doing the kind of role-playing, as we call it, job of a top-lane tank, where he just absorbs pressure, he doesn't die, and it's just cool. We're fine. It's good. Doesn't matter. If he could keep up a little bit with the CS, he'd actually be quite scary as a tank player, because then he'd be tanky enough to be able to absorb the pressure that he's already doing just from skill-wise. But there's still a pretty big discrepancy across the map. Illumin's Echo is completed for just a few parts for KTA mid. Chris Meister was able to get solo turret gold first turret, giving him about a almost 4K gold lead, and quite a lot of gold for just Chris Meister himself, who, although he is a farm-heavy mid laner, not so much like the Anivia. I mean, he wants to get some kills in this game with with his Shockwave and especially comboing it with left hook Larry. Snippet is off to the races right now. He's probably at about a 9 CS a minute, which is higher than we've seen this entire game. Although Memento's kind of pushing that as well. And a Black Cleaver finished from Memento. Speaking of, it's very, very scary for the side of Red Dusk as they're starting to look a potential 2-0 in the face. I mean, I don't want to say it just yet, but this is a great lead as Memento is able to pick up the second tower in the top lane. 4K already. What does Red Dusk need to do?
They need to stop the bleeding. That's the first thing. This Rift Herald is a great opportunity. Oh, no. No. Oh, that was great.
Nice ultimate away from Finesse. Does allow him to keep alive. Ball time isn't able to get much, but probably going to... Oh, the nice kill from Chris Meister. I didn't see the root from Phoenix. Kind of came in under nothing. Unfortunately, Rift Herald is kind of blown away. It might have been the end of the timer, though, as the Shockwave does connect onto KTA. Not sure there's enough damage there just yet. A little bit preemptively used. I smell a pig was probably the target, but he was able to hop away. I'm assuming that Rift Herald was probably at the end of its timer, since it's about 60 minutes in the game, and it picked up at like 11:50 maybe. So it's unfortunate that they didn't have to blow it. As a third tier 1 does get out of Rift. Root does pop on a KTA. Let's see if they want to go from airborne, pulled back. Chris Meister is here. He does have the mana of Electric Larry. He is able to pick the cold. Memento actually just kind of walked his way all the way down, walked his butt from top to bottom. There's another word that I'm trying to say here, but I'm not going to say it on air. And a dragon is up for the side of FSG. It's going to be a double Drake for them. Unfortunately, it's not an Inferno for them to keep snowballing, but this is a 6K gold lead at 16 minutes. What is going on? This was an equal game at this point last game. Is this draft, or what happened to the stalwartness of Red Dusk?
I'm sorry. What was that last?
So the games, or the teams, were basically equal at this time last game. There was like maybe a little bit of a difference here or there, but this is a pretty hardcore snowball so far for the side of FSG, and I'm wondering where Red Dusk went. They were so stalwart last game, able to kind of stem the bleeding. Is it because of draft? Is it what happened? Is Pops Fry Cook just AFK bot lane with the sub, or what's going on?
So in neither game do I blame the support on the side of RDA. I think both of them played pretty well. If it weren't for Ye's his kind of connection things, I think he would have been just as fine. I appreciated the aggression out of Pops Fry Cook. Like I said though, the issue is that there's so little kill pressure in the 2v2, in the 1v1s, that like you just have to give lane pressure. Look at the Malphite right now. The Malphite has to burn flash basically on cooldown. He's down 60 CS, and he's down a kill to an Aatrox. Like, you can't do that.
KTA does actually step forward. Just going to force him to burn his flash. A little bit interesting as he emotes mid lane. Wouldn't be KTA without an emo, would it?
No, it wouldn't. He's a pretty flashy player. But...
That is flash down for the mid lane, though. Is that a catalyst for the side of FSG, or are they just going to chill and farm for the next few minutes?
Nothing's I mean, that's really just like, what do you how do you engage other than a Malphite ultimate now? So now all you have to do is avoid getting ulted by Malphite. So Morgana gets to protect one person. It doesn't really matter if Aatrox gets hit or if Volibear gets hit. So basically, you have to hit either Misfortune or you have to hit Orianna. It's difficult to do either of those. I think your best bet would be to wait for a Misfortune ultimate and then ult on top of her. But that's pretty telegraphed because the Morgana can obviously give the black shield.
Oh, Shockwave does pop on his Pops Fry Cook. He does hit Overgrowth, and it's actually going to allow him to get out of there with the vroom vroom from Lulu. But that's still a lot of pressure lost. He's going to have to go all the way to back to base. Blue for Chris Meister, and more pressure in the mid lane, though no one is in the bot lane. Not a full 1-3-1 for the side of FSG, but pretty good macro here from a team that was looking a little bit scrappier in the previous game. We didn't really get to see them kind of have map control in the previous game, as they just kept diving in with a Nocturne and kind of showing what's what in the team fights. What is the next step for FSG to continue this pressure?
I think you literally just group mid and then you let Aatrox take over a side lane. Because who do you send to respond to them? Like, you can't keep sending them out. Like, he'll kill them out.
Flash forward and a knock up onto front Este. He does get out as the bullet time. Nice knock up and a shockwave hit to them. But a dash forward from KTM, and he's really trying to get a kill here. But Chris Mester's able to return the kill on to him. And Memento finds JNMJ. He's 3 levels up in the jungle. He's actually just farming the jungle. He doesn't even kill. Hair might be a tier 2 mid lane for the side of FSG. They are so far ahead. But a lot of gold is sitting in their pockets. And it should be mentioned that that was a good time for Red Dusk to fight. But unfortunately, it didn't turn out too well.
My goodness. Like I said, that's almost as good a fight as you want. The Malphite wasn't quite there, but that's about what you want to look for. They are so far behind, though. I mean, geez. I mean, I don't even know how to describe. The Oriana's up about 3,000 gold of the Galio right now.
Yeah, that's a 2-item Oriana in 20 minutes. Somehow Memento is ahead of 10 CS a minute, which is kind of disgusting for someone that's not in Challenger League, especially in a team setting as opposed to solo queue. He's really just stomping with only 1 kill, oddly enough. He's hard smashed his lane. He's really looking to kind of carry through, although Aatrox is going to start falling off a little bit. As well as Kais is going to start to get stronger and stronger. Do we have enough time for Finesse to come online? Finesse was almost able to come online last game when he really had some impressive team fighting, but unfortunately wasn't able to really kind of close out the game. Do we have enough time here with a 7K deficit at 21 minutes?
I think the issue for Finesse is that right now you have to worry about both Misfortune and you have to worry about Oriana's damage, but you also have to worry about the Aatrox running into you. You have to worry about
the volley bear as you get knocked back, as Ice Melon Pig is able to get away. The ultimate does turn around for a few rockets in the face. That's about it. That Jash onto JNMJ, not gonna go for it just yet. And you know, Pops Frycook has been had quite a lot of chutzpah this game as a squishy little Lulu when his team is pretty far behind. I am kind of curious at a cresting 8K gold lead if my stats scheme can confirm whether this is the largest lead we've had in the league so far. I'm not sure if it is. Hopefully the stats scheme can check that out. But they're going to be able to take down the bot lane tower pretty much uncontested with the pressure. Memento was forcing 2 people top lane as a rotating to the dragon. Is it time for Baron perhaps?
I don't see why not. At this point, I mean, they're up, what, 9,000 gold at 20. I guess the Infernal Drake's got to come first. You got to get all those dragons secured. But
yeah, you got to get the nice chroma key with, you know, the white, green, and red. Memento's still pulling 2 people to him. Should be a pretty free dragon, though. But a taunt actually onto Memento does land. Let's see if he's able to get his ultimate off. He is, and he probably should just walk away with just the ultimate. But you're mentioning potentially Baron as 23 minutes in the game and a just about 9K gold lead. If only I had a fancy stats team to tell me, but I think they're just kind of floundering around at the desk, and you know it's fine. It's fine. We'll get to it later. Maybe when we get an upgrade on the stats team here soon. We, you know, it might not be the biggest lead that we've ever had, but it's definitely a very, very solid lead for the side of SVG, which I'm still mildly surprised by how equal these teams were in the previous game. And actually in the standings, they're still very equal. As I mentioned at the beginning of this game, it should be a 2nd place for FSG if they do win. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No worries. I think the giant differences between last game and this game are... Number one, they didn't have a Morgana support last time, correct?
Yes, it was banned out actually in particular, potentially a comfort pick for the side of Phoenix.
Yeah, and that's coming out right now, as you can see. The lack of CC on the side of RDE. And then the other thing is, last time they had the Anivia and they had the Ornn, both of which are champions with little kill pressure in their own solo lanes, at least until they get some more items and such. In this one, they said, balls to that, we're gonna run Aatrox and Orianna. Oh man.
And a taunt does go on to like 3 members, so but a shockwave is the bullet time. That's a triple kill for the side of Snippet, a double kill, excuse me, but it does secure 3 kills, 4 kills for the side of FSG. So much damage came out. That was a very big team fight that happened with just JanMJ kind of being caught out of position, which actually I wanted to kind of question you. JanMJ was stalwart last game, and he's died twice now only, but has really been hard losing his lane. He almost has a Flame Horizon against him when he was really able to be the tank in the front line for his team, but he really hasn't shown up this game as he was part of a 4-for-0 just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that Maokai can burn his mana and clear waves and such from at least somewhat of a distance. He can sustain with his passive, do those kinds of things. Malphite doesn't really have any of those ways to do the same thing. Malphite has less sustain, I would argue even a little bit less like trading power. Now his all-in ability is a little bit better, but that just doesn't work into an Aatrox, and that's, I think, why. The other big thing is that JanMJ, I don't think has hit his ultimate on an enemy champion this game. He has used it almost exclusively to run away from fights.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not been able to engage the way that he really kind of wants to. Malphite, you always like to see kind of jumping into 5 people, getting a nice knock-up, watching the shockwave from his side of the team go off. But unfortunately, it's not on his team, and he's not really been in the place that we want to see him. He's only got 1 completed item currently. He just finishes his second one 26 minutes into the game, when there's 3 items for the side of Snippet, 2.5 for the side of Chris Meister, only 2 for the side of Fineste, who is the hyper carry, the scaling carry, but is a full item behind his opponent, who does, of course, have tier 1 boots, but it's Misfortune. She likes to strut around, so she don't need no boots. She don't need nobody. But potentially an engagement onto JanMJ, who might be hooked. There's the ultimate you were looking for. But once again, it might have been the wrong direction.
Hey, Hickory?
Yes, sir.
Misfortune's got rapid fire cannon.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, cool. Doesn't have the Conqueror, but we might be able to see the IE.
The IE, yeah.
Hitting some serious bullet times this game as a taunt does go on left hook. Larry, he's tanky as left hook as the bullet time does go on. Actually only does half damage to JanMJ. He's still pretty tanky here, but he is going to go down. He doesn't have his ultimate. He doesn't have flash. KTK wants to go forward. He's feeling it. He does have the overgrowth, but he does down 1 team as I don't think anyone's actually going to be able to kill him. He does able to get away with like no health, but that does leave I Smell a Pig out to dry. He gets flashed on, but Memento is in the base. He's on. There's the kill for Chris Meister. Memento might go down here for Fineste. He's a little bit aggressive there, but with the inhib down, they're going to keep pushing. That's a 1-for-3 trade across the map, but Fineste is going to keep the game from ending, but that might be a Baron. It looks like potentially with I Smell a Pig down, looks like they're going to start it up right away. Wow, that was a weird fight there, my.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I did not know that Volibear could heal that much. Like, I knew his passive was crazy, but he went from, like, a quarter health to 75% health just from his passive alone. That was insane.
So clearly what you're saying is Volibear is broken.
Volibear broken, yep.
That it's not in meta is because people are stupid and they just don't know how to read numbers, right? Has nothing to do with meta.
To think that earlier in the game I was slamming them saying that he's not a ball delivery system, but he doesn't need to be a ball delivery system. He is his own damage source.
He is 13 of 15 kills right now. That's a 90%, 88% kill participation right now on the quote-unquote tank jungler. He has been absolutely everywhere this map, and we were mentioning his early game was actually really, really strong versus Kha'Zix, who had no early game. Looks like another Drake is going to be rotated on by the side of FD. With the inhibitor down, I'm not sure there's much that Red Dusk can do about it. A couple wards do go down, but another Infernal is going to be pretty scary. I mean, Snippet is so strong right now. Chris Meister is so strong. It really has been the Memento left hook Larry game. But with these two hard carries getting completely online now, it's going to be just absolutely terrifying for the side of Red Dust, who's just trying to deal with these bruisers at the time being. We have a 4-1-7 Misfortune and a 3-0-7 Oriana. I mean, Chris Meister can probably 100-0 half the carries on the side of Red Dust, and he hasn't even needed to just yet because it has been the Memento and the left hook Larry show.
You've also got a very upset color caster because you see the components for what will be a Phage in the Misfortune's inventory instead of that IE, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to see the cool build that we were talking about.
Still.
Memento is pushing on the top side of the map. He's going to get rotated on by 3, 4, or 5, actually, from the side of Red Dust. They're really trying to deal with the split pusher. But not much can be done on the way. They don't have the best siege here with the Misfortune and the Oriana, I have noticed. But they do get a lot of poke down, as the bot lane inhibitor is respawning for the side of Red Dusk. But at 14k down in 30 minutes, it might go down pretty easily. Quite a big minion stack, actually, in the bot lane, as Memento level 18 to KTA's 13 is just knocking on the top lane door. Do they need to keep this 1-4 up, or do they need to kind of move things around as a flash reflector? There's Shockwave into the full time. That's a pretty easy 2-kill. KTA does get a nice taunt, but that's not much that can be done. As the 4th kill for Memento does go down, there's the ace, pretty easily kept up. The stopwatch is going to keep the KDA perfect for Chris Meister.
Wow.
A BM teleport coming in from Memento. They know they got it. It's a pretty easy 2-0 for the side of full FSG. Red Dust did hold on pretty easily the first game, but that was a thrashing. White Lotus might need to look out.
Oh my goodness, that last fight.
Break it down.
Put the ball on.
Break it down for me. What happened?
Break it down for you? What happened? Okay. Here is my issue with RDE. I Smell a Pig is not ganking, and his lanes are falling behind. Look at what happened mid. Look at what happened top. Both of them lost almost entirely. Again, they're not respecting the damage, because if you look at the Kai'Sa, there is 0 armor, 0 magic resist. Or Lulu, 0 armor, 0 magic resist. Like, how do you respond to an Aatrox with 3 kills, 4 assists, and 320 farm at 3 minutes and 31 minutes in the game? Like, you just can't do that. Like, you have to play around that lane and try to get Jan MJ into a better position. Or if you're going to play this composition where you have 1 damage threat, you need to have kill pressure for that damage threat. You cannot keep running these enchanters and just get them through the laning thing.
Well, since you're a little bit confused on the way that Red Dusk Esports played, I don't care, because we're going to be interviewing a player from FSG. As my color caster, I like to leave it to you to who you would like to interview to kind of get a better idea of how the series was won. Good sir.
This is actually a tough one. I really liked Snippet, I really liked Chris Meister, and I really liked Left Hook Larry. So
since you were totally wrong about the first blood of the first picking off of
it felt Snippet's the cat.
Pick it.
I think Left Hook Larry. Let's get.
He wants to go Left Hook Larry. All right.
Oh no.
We might not be able to pick up Left Hook Larry. What's your second?
What about? Let's do Snippet then.
All right, let's talk to Snippet. That would be our friendly neighborhood ADC. Snippet, how's it going? Congratulations on the win. How do you feel, bud?
Oh, how's it going?
Hello. How do you feel? Did you hear anything I just said? Okay.
We're happy with the win, since we get no love whenever power rankings come out, so it's good just to come back and show people that we can actually play competitive league.
Well, I don't know about power rankings per se, but you're second in the league. Would that not be quite powerful?
Actually, I think we're. I don't know if we're second or not. I just know this week.
You just got second.
Oh, we do have a couple more games
win,
played than the other teams, though, too.
With this win, you are currently, for the time being, second place. We need to see how the rest of the week goes, but you're currently second place. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. after
Yeah.
last week's debacle. Feels good coming back to 2-0 this week.
Yeah, nice. It's always comfortable. Also, really early in the week, which is time to kind of practice up and even watch some of the other teams. I'm kind of wondering if, as the second place team, who really just hard smashed a pretty at what I thought would be an equivalent team, are you starting to kind of gun for first place? Is White Lotus on your radar?
When we first played White Lotus, the game was close, and we thought we were doing pretty good. But after that, we started to struggle as a team. But once we brought in a coach to actually help us with our pick bans, things have started to get together better. Right now, we're not really trying to gun for anybody. We're trying to figure out what identity we have as a team and just build on that.
Awesome. Since I'm just a silly play-by say things, I'd like to see if Rebel has any few questions for you.
Yeah, walk us through specifically the MF pick, because we were talking about how the Kaiser is something that you see at basically every level of the game, but Misfortune is a little less common. So talk us through what you were thinking with that.
We're based on our comp. We wanted some kind of ADC that I was familiar with, and she's really like my comfort pick. We were just trying to get through lane and have our top and mid carry us through.
Mm-hmm.
So since we actually won lane pretty decently the second game as well, yeah, it's just a good pick.
Yeah, for sure. We really enjoyed those kind of team fight compositions you were designing. We saw, the Ornn and Nivea Misfortune, and then the Orianna Misfortune and the Volley Bear. Was that your game plan going in to kind of design these team fight wombo combo-esque compositions?
For the first game, definitely yes, since that worked out very well. Second game, we tried to do it as well. We were a little nervous when Larry said that he wanted to play Volley Bear, because it's not really the best at the ball delivery system. But he's like, it seems like he always had flash up whenever we needed it, so it worked out in the end.
Yeah, really spectacular. So what was the decision making like after game? You win game one, it was pretty convincing, but you had to wait through some of that waiting time from the comms. How did you keep everybody in that game specifically? And then what were the comms like in game two when you were setting up for what could potentially be a 2-0?
First game, like you said, there was that 15-minute wait. We talked about what we still wanted to do as a strat, and we pulled off what we needed to, even though obviously the 15-minute wait time. But trying to keep them in check on what our game plan was and make sure we didn't just joke around in the meantime was a pretty big key. Game two, we said if they don't ban Anivia and Nocturne, then we're just gonna win.
I'm gonna give you one more, Rebel.
Give me one more.
One more question.
Okay.
For Mr. Snippet.
Actually, I don't think I have any more questions for Mr. Hickory or Snippet here.
Coolio. Snippet, do you have any closing words for us? Anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to tell us other than some fancy strats, which I saw that someone in your team was yelling about in Discord, but that's not a good nor there.
Not really too much at the moment.
Oh, wait, here's a question. Did you know Misfortune's ultimate, when it crits, does 10% true damage with an Infinity Edge?
No, I did not.
So we got excited when you built Rapid Fire because we thought you were going to IE to do some cool thing.
I only went Rapid Fire third item in that game is because I still tried to stay away because Malphite ult is pretty bonkers. So as long as I didn't get hit by that, I felt like it was a good choice.
Awesome. Well, Snippet, congratulations. Thank you for talking to us. Good luck for the watching, I guess, the rest of the week to see if you can hold on to your number 2 spot. From here on out, we're going to be finishing the rest of the week, the 4th week in the GXP Championship as we get closer and closer to those playoffs. Rebel, do you have any last words for us?
I think that we saw some really good team compositions tonight. I thought we saw some really good play from FSG. Anybody that is a player or a team watching or in the audience right now really needs to take note, because these middle of the pack teams and these top tier teams are the ones you have to beat to climb the playoffs.
Absolutely, going to look for these top few teams. Thank you very much for your insight this series. Impressive 2-0 from the side of FSG. Red Dusk going to hopefully have to pick it up in the next few games. Thank you very much for joining me, Rebel Fox, with the color. My name is Hickory. I've been guiding you through this. Thank you all from the behalf of our production team. Nick, as always, has been producing the actual stream for you. Thank you, every very much for watching the GXPC Championship. Hope to see you again next time. Have a good evening. Thank you all very much.